Hey, this is Greg Rains with UCTV Channel 9, and I'm here at the Southern Museum and Galleries of Photography and Culture and History. And I'm here with Monty Wanamaker, and he and Chris Keithley have teamed up to produce a book that's titled Pictorial History of Warren County. Now, this is part of a series called Images of America, or Images of America series, sorry, and it's produced by Arcadia Publishing of South Carolina. What distinguishes this publication from other publications is that Arcadia Publishing actually came to Monty and Chris and asked them to produce this. So this is one of the things that turned me on to this is here recently we had an interview with the county historian, and he spoke of this book very highly. And so I do want to thank Monty for being my guest today, and we're going to talk more about this book that he has produced. So again, thanks for being here. And as you can see in the background, we have a camera there. Let's start off, since folks can see that camera, and tell us about that camera that's behind you, and then we'll jump right in talking about the book.
Well, Greg, thank you for asking me to do an interview about our book, which pleases me very much, and I'm delighted to have you here. The camera in the background is one of the early portrait cameras used by William Spencer Lively. It was used probably in his work at the Southern School of Photography, which he had here in McMinnville from 1904 to 1928. We have a number of his cameras that we obtained with a number of items that I purchased from the estate of Charles Steamboat Cassidy, who had collected Lively memorabilia, photographs, cameras, and glass plate negatives, prints, and other memorabilia through the years. And I purchased these in 2000, and those were the nucleus for our museum, which we decided to open in 2001.
Okay. Now let's jump in and talk about the book, and let's start off with the reason for doing the book.
We conceived of doing a book on Warren County in 2005, actually, to celebrate the bicentennial of Warren County, which of course is celebrated this year. We had heard about Arcadia and had seen and have some of Arcadia's books on the different cities and towns of America, and we know a author who has published with them, and he put us in touch with his editor, whom we contacted, and we made a proposal for our book, and it was accepted, and we began work on our book in late 2005. We completed our work for the book in 2006 and had the images and everything in to the publisher in September of 2006. The book came out officially in February of 2007 of this year.
Okay, and you have a copy of it there in your hand.
I have a copy of it here.
Right. And the best part about this interview is you're going to share with the folks some of the images, if they purchase the book, that they can see and have in their home all the time.
Absolutely. We have, I think, 220 different images in this book. Many of them are rare and never before published, never before seen by people in Warren County. Some have been published before, have been previously seen, because they are the only ones that exist from that time period and of that particular object. But I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the beginning of the book. Two of the first images are early images in our chapter, Early Days, are the early courthouses of Warren County. The present courthouse that we have here now is the fourth courthouse that has been used and utilized in Warren County. The photograph of this one that I am showing you now is the third courthouse, which was built in 1858 by John E. Goodney, who was the architect for this courthouse, and it lasted until 1896, when the town fathers decided that they were going to tear it down and build a bigger and better courthouse, which they did. And in 1896, they began work on the present courthouse. And this photograph here, included in our chapter Early Days, shows the present courthouse that officially was finished in 1898 being built, and it shows workmen at work on the courthouse. Actually, there is a workman standing in the clock tower up at the top of the courthouse. At the time it was built, it did have a fourth-story clock tower, which made the courthouse a much more imposing and alluring building. Unfortunately, in about 1954, that clock tower was removed from the courthouse, and Mr. Womack, in his book McMinnville at a Milestone, says that it was removed due to fear of danger, that they were afraid it might blow off or might come loose and fall and hurt people. So unfortunately it was removed. The courthouse that we presently have is still the R.H. Hunt designed courthouse that was finished in 1898, and there is a beautiful picture in our book of the courthouse on page 71 from a distance, and these are two of the early photographs that we have in our book. On page 18 and 19 of our book, we feature some very interesting people who lived here in the town in the early days. Colonel John Hopkins French and the writer Lucy Virginia Smith French, who was a prominent Victorian author and poet. And when she first came here as wife of Colonel French in I think she came in 1854. They were married in 1854. She had already become a published author. She was publishing poems in newspapers at the time, and she was also editing a ladies' magazine from her headquarters in Memphis. She and her sister Lydia had moved to Memphis to teach school from their home up in Virginia. And Colonel French was a local horse breeder, property owner, land speculator, and a very wealthy man. And he often went to New Orleans to do business and to purchase saddle horses for his estate. And then later he would take horses to sell in New Orleans on the riverboats that were at the time the mode of transportation for doing such things. And he had read in a newspaper a poem by this woman when he was in Memphis. And he had clipped this poem. It was very impressive to him. He had clipped it, and he was carrying it in his wallet at the time. And he stopped in Memphis on his way to New Orleans by riverboat on a trip to purchase some saddle horses. And he entered a bookstore, and after a young lady entered the bookstore while he was there, and he was very impressed with her. When she walked out, he asked the person in charge who the person was. She said, "That is Lucy Virginia French, the poetess." He was infatuated with this girl, and he pursued her, showed her the poem that he was carrying around of hers in his wallet, and not too long afterwards he asked her to marry him, and they were married. These are portraits of him and her shortly after they were married in 1853. These are very rare portraits of the Frenches that we discovered in a 1900 article that had appeared in a religious magazine, a Methodist magazine I think it was, written by her daughter in 1900. These images are a part of our book. They are listed on page 18 of our book, and this is a portrait